The world has always lived on the edge of uncertainty. For every generation, there comes a time when the questions about tomorrow weigh heavier than the answers of today. And now, in a world shifting faster than the human heart can fully process, people wonder, what will the future hold for humanity? Anthony Scaramucci sat in a quiet studio, his voice steady but filled with curiosity. Across from him was Brad Thor, a novelist whose thrillers captured the complexity of geopolitics and human ambition. But today was not about fiction, it was about the very real battle for the soul of the future. Their conversation began with a single, haunting question: are we ready for the future we are building? Brad leaned back, his eyes sharp, not with fear, but with the awareness of history repeating itself. He spoke about the patterns of civilizations, how they rose, thrived, and eventually collapsed, often blinded by their own hubris. He described the Roman Empire, magnificent yet unable to see its own decay. He reminded Anthony of the great powers that came after, each believing their reign was permanent, each falling when arrogance outpaced wisdom. Anthony nodded, pressing deeper. So, Brad, are we headed toward that same fate? Are we building a world destined to crumble under its own weight? The question carried a silence heavy enough to cut through the air. Brad didn't rush his response. Instead, he spoke about the duality of the future, how it is both terrifying and full of hope. On one hand, technology offered miracles, medical breakthroughs, renewable energy, artificial intelligence that could solve problems once thought unsolvable. On the other hand, it also carried shadows, surveillance, disinformation, the possibility of machines replacing human dignity with cold efficiency. The story turned personal when Brad recounted a trip he once took overseas. He met a young boy in a war-torn region who had nothing, no home, no family, no future as the world defined it. Yet, when Brad asked him what he dreamed of, the boy smiled and said, "A place where people don't fight, where we can build things together." That moment struck Brad deeply. If a child who had lost everything could still dream of building, then perhaps the world wasn't as lost as it seemed. Anthony, moved by the story, shared his own. He remembered growing up in a middle-class neighborhood where dreams were built on education, grit, and opportunity. His parents didn't have much, but they believed in the promise of tomorrow. That belief, he explained, was what carried him into rooms he never thought he'd see: rooms of power, politics, and finance. And yet, even in those rooms, he saw the same fear, the uncertainty of where humanity was heading. The two men discussed the challenges facing the world today: climate change, authoritarianism, polarization, and the growing mistrust in institutions. But they didn't just paint a picture of despair. They explored the resilience of people, the ability to